Welcome to the explainer that is literally going to change how you look at the Cambridge AS and A-Level 9706 accounting syllabus. Today, we are looking at something that keeps countless Cambridge candidates awake at night. We are pulling apart the syllabus to uncover a massive, absolute game-changing secret about your exam performance. Listen, if you've ever found yourself sitting in that exam hall staring at a high-tariff 12 to 15-mark question, wondering how on earth some candidates effortlessly secure those top-tier marks while the rest just get stuck somewhere in the middle of the pack, well, you are exactly in the right place right now. The jump from an average, middle-of-the-road grade to a coveted A-star rests almost entirely on one specific area: mastering the precise, hidden nuances of different business entities. I see it every single year. It's not just about knowing what a partnership or a sole trader is from a textbook definition. That's easy. It's about how you critically analyze them under intense, clock-ticking exam conditions. So, grab your notebooks because we are about to decode exactly what the examiners are desperately looking for. To really set the stage for how incredibly high the stakes are here, we need to look directly at the source. This isn't just my opinion. A principal examiner stated this explicitly in a recent report, and I quote, "The difference between a B and an A star in accounting often comes down to how well you understand advantages and disadvantages of different business entities." Think about that for a second. Let that really sink in. This isn't just some minor throwaway topic to gloss over during your late-night revision sessions. It is literally the ultimate dividing line. The examiners are specifically and strategically using this exact area to filter out the top-tier candidates from the rest of the pack. A B-grade student can list the facts, but an A-star student, they can take those facts, twist them, contextualize them, and build a bulletproof argument. So, our absolute laser focus for this explainer is going to be the advantages and disadvantages of business entities. We are treating this as an insider's masterclass. We're going to completely deconstruct what examiners are actually looking for when they grade your papers. And to do this, I want you to picture two of my top scholars. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Now, Alex is highly technical, absolutely excels at formulas and facts, but struggles completely with open-ended evaluation. Sam, on the other hand, is a creative thinker, fantastic at building arguments, but really struggles with structural precision and managing time. Throughout this session, we're going to look at how both Alex and Sam tackle these high-tariff questions, the roadblocks they hit, and how we fix them. We'll look at the core theory, the methodology, and most importantly, the fatal traps that candidates fall into year after year. Here is our strategic roadmap for today's session. First, we'll hit the core theoretical principles. Second, we'll dive into the method mark strategy. Third, we'll expose the top examiner warnings. And finally, we will wrap up with mastering critical analysis. Let's jump right in. Section 1, Core Principles, Theoretical Architecture. Okay, if you think this is just about memorizing a bulleted list of pros and cons, I need you to completely reset your mindset right now. Achieving top marks requires a much deeper, multifaceted approach. The assessment objectives for this topic target three completely distinct cognitive domains. First is Assessment Objective 1, or AO1, Knowledge and Understanding. That's your baseline. That is Alex knowing the facts cold. Second is AO2, Analysis. This is your ability to interpret those facts in a given specific scenario. And third is AO3, Evaluation. This is the highest order skill, where you make real business judgments and recommendations based on your analysis. Successful candidates do not just rely on that first domain. You have to actively demonstrate competence across all three simultaneously. And this all comes down to the anatomy of the command words. Look closely at your exam paper. Are you being asked to analyze or evaluate? Because they are completely different beasts. Analyze means pulling the data apart to see how the business entity operates. Evaluate means you have to pass judgment on it. Similarly, explain just once the how and why, but to what extent demands that you weigh up two competing sides of an argument and formulate a powerful, justified conclusion. If you treat an evaluate question like an explain question, you will literally cap your marks at a grade C, no matter how good your accounting knowledge is. And here is a massive insight directly from the principal examiner reports. The theoretical architecture relies heavily on precise definitions, but the real secret ingredient, the thing that pushes you to an A star, it's integration. Examiners explicitly highlight that candidates who successfully reference cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher scores. What does that actually mean? It means if you are discussing a disadvantage of a limited company, you don't just say, it's heavily regulated. You link that disadvantage to another syllabus area entirely, like capital structure or liquidity or ratio analysis. You say, because the limited company is heavily regulated and requires audited accounts, this impacts their administrative overhead, which in turn could negatively affect their operating profit margin. Boom, right there. When you make those causal connections, you prove to the examiner that you truly grasp the entire 9706 syllabus as one giant, interconnected puzzle, not just isolated chapters in a textbook. Moving on to Section 2, Methodology, the method mark strategy. This is where we shift gears from what you know to exactly how you prove it on paper. In Cambridge exams, examiners often award crucial points simply for demonstrating the correct analytical process, even if your final arithmetic or conclusion isn't completely perfect. We call this the method mark strategy. It requires a rigorous, almost robotic 6-step procedural framework to systematically tackle any question on business entities. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. Highlight the exact command words and the hidden constraints. Step 2. Extract relevant data from the stimulus materials. Step 3. Select your analytical framework. Step 4. Execute with crystal clear notation. Step 5. Verify your results. And Step 6. Present the information accurately. Imagine Alex and Sam in a collaborative digital study suite working on this right now. They've just been handed a monster 15-mark question comparing a partnership to a newly formed private limited company. Alex immediately wants to skip to Step 4, execute notation, and just start listing facts. But Sam is stuck on Step 1, trying to deconstruct the philosophical meaning of the question. You need both. You need the discipline to follow all 6 steps in order every single time. Let's look at what happens in that extraction phase, because data interpretation is absolutely critical. You aren't just reading a text, you are mining it. Let's go back to our students, Alex and Sam. They're debating the layout of this 15-mark essay. Alex points to the table and says, look, we just extract the specific profit numbers and the liability clauses, that's the answer. Sam argues back, no, we need to look at the broader conceptual perspective. How does the unlimited liability of the partnership affect their long-term expansion plans? Who is right? They both are. You must pull specific metrics and details from texts and tables, that's extracting. Then you interpret the relationships. How does that data actually impact the business entity in the specific scenario? Ultimately, the goal is drawing solid, evidence-based conclusions. You cannot just confidently state an advantage out of thin air. You have to physically anchor it to the data you extracted and interpreted from the stimulus. That is how you hit those top-tier assessment objectives.
Section 3. Examiner warnings, top mistakes.
Okay, we've covered what to do, but we absolutely must look at what not to do. Now, right before we look at the exact roadblocks Alex and Sam are hitting in their draft, I want to pause for a second. If you are serious about cracking the Cambridge Code and you're finding this breakdown helpful, you need to hit subscribe right now on the channel AC Exams, IGCSE, O and A levels, at ACExam_IGCSE. Turn on all those notifications, I mean it, click the bell. We drop these weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies and you simply cannot afford to miss them. Okay, back to the exam hall. There are 3 critical, heavy mark costing mistakes students consistently make. Number 1, answers are often way too vague. Examiners do not want sweeping generalizations, they demand highly specific details. Number 2, forgetting to check format and presentation conventions. Following strict formatting, like proper headings and clear annotations, is non-negotiable. And number 3, this is the biggest one, providing answers that aren't specific to the context given. If the exam paper gives you a scenario about a struggling family-owned tech startup, your advantages and disadvantages must specifically and explicitly apply to that exact struggling tech startup, not just a generic copy-pasted textbook definition of a private limited company. This brings us to a specific warning I like to call the terminology trap. Let's do a quick visual workshop. Imagine a poorly written student answer on the screen right now. It says, the sole trader should become a limited company so they can issue shares to the general public to raise capital. Did you spot the flaw? I'll give you a second. The flaw is that a private limited company cannot issue shares to the general public. Only a public limited company can. This is the terminology trap. Principal examiner reports reveal this consistent, frustrating error where candidates constantly confuse key terminology, confusing private with public or confusing the types of liability. The absolute easiest way to avoid losing marks here? Always explicitly define your terms before you use them in your extended responses. It takes an extra few seconds of writing, but it proves your exact knowledge and understanding immediately to the examiner and locks in those AO1 marks before you even start arguing your points.
Finally, Section 4. Critical analysis, mastering evaluation.
This is where we elevate our answers into the absolute highest tier of marking. To get those top marks, we have to look at the contrast between a basic descriptive or analytical answer and a true evaluative recommendation. Remember Alex and Sam drafting their response? They hit a massive roadblock on their final paragraph. Alex wrote, a partnership has unlimited liability, meaning the partners can lose their personal assets. That is a purely descriptive answer. It just tells the examiner what the business entity is. Then Sam tried to fix it and wrote, a partnership has unlimited liability, which makes it harder to raise finance because banks see them as high risk. That is an analytical answer. It explains how it works. But the higher order demand is evaluation. So let's step in and rewrite their flawed section right now. A flawless, full-mark evaluative response sounds like this. While the partnership's unlimited liability increases personal risk and potentially deters bank financing, to what extent this is a disadvantage depends entirely on the partner's current personal wealth and the specific capital requirements of their planned expansion. Therefore, transitioning to a private limited company is a recommended course of action only if their immediate expansion requires capital beyond their current personal collateral. Do you see the difference? You are actively evaluating alternatives, comparing different approaches, and justifying your final recommendations with rock-solid evidence. Let's practice this. Imagine a complex data chart on your screen right now showing the profit margins of 3 different business entities over 5 years. Let's put 60 seconds on the clock in our minds. When executing a comparative analysis of that data, top candidates know they must identify both similarities and differences. You look at the chart, you see the sole trader's profit dipping while the limited company's profit stabilizes. But it doesn't stop there. You must use specific comparative connectives in your writing. Words like whereas, conversely, nevertheless, these words force you to show the relationship between points. And finally, you must draw conclusions about their relative importance. Which factor matters more to the business in the given scenario? Is the limited company's stable profit margin more important than the sole trader's complete operational control? You have to make a choice. That why behind your choice is exactly what evaluation is. Now, retaining all the specific advantages, disadvantages, tax implications, and liability structures for sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies can feel incredibly overwhelming under exam pressure. So here is a highly effective memory hack. Encode these complex concepts using the visual story method. Instead of just staring at a wall of flashcards, create a mental visual narrative for each entity type. Picture a specific exaggerated character running a sole trader business, physically carrying the heavy weight of unlimited liability on their shoulders. Make the concepts tangible and visual in your mind, and your recall during a high-pressure exam will improve dramatically. So, as Alex and Sam wrap up their session, they've realized the secret, and it boils down to 3 core memorable pillars for you to take away. Pillar 1, the 3-step question scan. Always identify the command word, the content knowledge, and the hidden scenario constraints before writing a single word. Pillar 2, the paragraph balance formula. Ensure every paragraph has a mix of AO1 knowledge, AO2 analysis, and AO3 evaluation. And Pillar 3, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Always save 5 minutes to check if you actually answered the specific question asked or if you just mind dumped everything you knew about the topic.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question that I want you to ask yourself before you sit down for your next exam. Are you truly evaluating the business entity, or are you just summarizing it? Are you, Alex, just listing facts, or are you combining that with Sam's deep conceptual arguments to create a masterpiece? The next time you sit down with a practice paper, I challenge you to push past the descriptive summary and force yourself into that top-tier critical evaluation. Demand the evidence, make the comparison, and fully justify your recommendation. Remember, crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, relentless strategy. So if you want to keep getting these insider hacks, you need to hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a strategy session. And right now, drop a comment below with your exact target grade. Put it out there into the universe. Keep practicing those past papers, keep analyzing the data, and I will see you in the next explainer.